most humans still operate 94 to 96% from the unconsciousness. The Trinity really represents the connection to a higher state of being. It's really the gateway for spirit to come through you. You're turning the unconscious way of thinking, acting, and feeling into a conscious mind, body, and heart. The higher and more elevated your feelings and emotions are, the higher you will vibrate. Your higher self knows you way better than you think you know yourself. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The triangle is the most basic sacred geometry where other forms are shaped from. And it is highly recognized across the world and throughout history as an important symbol. It's this concept of unity by the assembly of three. And this concept of Trinity is used throughout different fields such as science, philosophy, religions, cultures, and traditions. There's a belief that there's a mystical power behind the Trinity, the triangle. And the triangle actually represents fire. And in order to create fire, you do need three ingredients. You need fuel, you need oxygen, and you need heat to create the flame. The Sacred Trinity then represents a perfect balance and harmony that reaches a level of wholeness and completeness through wisdom and awakening. It's a state of enlightenment. And this is also known as nirvana in Buddhism, Kabbalah in Jainism, moksha in Hinduism, just to name a few. In Christianity, the Sacred Trinity represents the idea of completeness, of wholeness and holiness. So it's basically God that is represented through the three aspects of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the Celtic tradition, the Sacred Trinity is known as the Celtic Trinity knot, representing the triple goddess known as the Maiden, the Mother, and the Crone. In modern times and New Age spirituality, the Holy Trinity or the Sacred Trinity is represented through the famous mind, body, and soul. And so what we can gather from all of these different cultures and religions is that the Trinity really represents the connection to a higher state of being and a certain level of awakening or enlightenment that has been reached. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The Sacred Trinity actually has a fourth invisible point, and it's located right at the middle of the triangle. And if you pull that fourth middle point upwards, you get a pyramid, a 3D version of the triangle known as the Tetrahedron. And this fourth point is actually represented by the eye that sees all, or the eye, the true eye, that true self. It's really the gateway for spirit to come through you, which is also known as the third eye, located right at the middle of your forehead. And this is activated by your pineal gland. And when your third eye is open, it really allows you to see beyond just the physical realm. So when you're connected to the I am consciousness, you're operating from your higher self. And naturally, your mind, body, and heart become in coherence. So the way that you become, the way that you think, act, and feel become in balance and in harmony, because you're stemming from your higher self, the place of spirit. And your higher self knows you way better than you think you know yourself. You can really imagine this I as the charioteer, or the driver of a chariot of three unconscious horses, which represents your unconscious mind, body, and heart. And when you don't give direction to these three unconscious horses, they will go all over the place aimlessly, and it can create chaos. And that could be represented in your life if you are always operating from a place of unconsciousness. So what the I really does is it basically is a driving force that shines the light of consciousness onto these three unconscious aspects of yourself. So what you're doing is you're turning the unconscious way of thinking, acting, and feeling into a conscious mind, body, and heart. And let's not forget that most humans still operate 94 to 96% from the unconsciousness. It is from the programming and conditioning and nature and nurture. And this is why it is so imperative that you get connected to the I am consciousness so your higher self can come through you. And this way you'll be able to live a life of consciousness. So now that we understand what the Sacred Trinity is and what a tetrahedron means, we're going to double down and we're going to add another tetrahedron, making us 2 tetrahedrons. And when you have 2 tetrahedrons, one coming from above, one coming from below, as they merge and intersect, you get the shape of a Merkaba, which is also the symbol of the Star of David. And this is a symbology of the union between the spirit realm and the world of matter. So in a sense, it's like the spirit realm is descending into the body, and the body is ascending to meet the spirit, and it creates this perfect vessel of your body. So that is when the Merkaba is activated and you become a body of light. In ancient Egypt, they called Merkaba as the light spirit body. And in Hebrew, Merkaba is actually also known as Merkava, and it's known as the chariot. So the first tetrahedron that represents the higher realms, the realm of spirit that is pointing downward, it's basically the presence of the essence, but that remains in the ether. It's the masculine, the father, the cosmos, the universe, and it is the I of the I am. So it does not have yet a place. It's just, like I said, sort of in the ether. Whereas the second tetrahedron that's pointing upwards is the realm of the physical, the realm of matter. It's the feminine, it's Mother Earth, it's Gaia, and it is the body, the am, the action, the am of the I am. So when you have these 2 tetrahedrons that join in the middle, you get the complete I am. When the Merkaba is activated, it's represented by the spinning of these 2 tetrahedra that have been joined. And when this happens, it just sort of creates this one movement, one force that is moving together. You don't see the dots and the shapes separately anymore. Just like the wheel on a car, as it spins faster, all you see is this one moving force. And when these 2 triangles of fire meet, it basically creates a phoenix where a new you is born, where you are working in coherence, in balance and harmony with all the points of both tetrahedra. Now that we know what each point represents in a tetrahedron, we can dive deeper into each point. Let's start with the first tetrahedron, the one from the higher realm. In the higher tetrahedron, the 4th point is the I am. It is the I of the I am, actually, and it is your higher self. So, in other words, it's spirit. Remember that spirit is from the ether. It's the untouchable essence that is the root of who we all are. And it is in its perfect state. It's already whole. So the first point of the higher tetrahedron is the higher mind. And again, because the higher tetrahedron represents the higher realms, like the spiritual realm, spirit, again, it's this formless, it's in its purest form. Therefore, there is no obstruction or attachment or association with the ego or anything that comes with the ego. And when you're stemming from your higher self, you begin to develop the insights that you're receiving from your higher self. What I like to call the eyes. So it's the information, intuition, inspiration, and imagination that come through and creates the intention. So the second point of the tetrahedron is the higher body. Through the higher self, this is when you can truly become your truest self because of the lack of obstruction of ego and everything that comes with it, such as identities and thoughts and everything else. And this is where you can really experience an awakening to spirit, to your higher self. And the side effects of this can sometimes be a sense of deep peace, bliss, feelings of like doing the right thing at the right place at the right time. It's really the purest form of presence where you've transcended time, really. And it's not always necessarily like this grand thing. It can be really the small things as well, such as walking your dog or doing the dishes to starting a business. And it really isn't so much about what you do, but it's where you do it from. So when you're doing it from the place of higher self, because the higher self is in its purest presence, it changes the quality of what you do and therefore the action. The third point of the tetrahedron is the higher heart. And this is where the unconditional love is felt through. And when I say unconditional love, it is not to be mistaken with the very human, emotional love that we feel for, the people close to us, such as family and friends. Unconditional love is much more vast than that. It's the total surrendering and complete acceptance of everything that is without needing or wanting to change anything. And it's not necessarily through trying so hard to accept everything. It's just you're really at peace with everything as is, and there's no space for judgment or opinion because you're really operating from a place of true deep peace with yourself and therefore with everything else. Now, for the second tetrahedron, it relates to the physical reality, the three-dimensional reality that we live in. And the driving force of the fourth point of this tetrahedron is the ego. And the ego has a bad name, but it's important to understand the etymology of the word ego because it only really means self. It's when the ego is not in balance that it becomes sick. So whether the ego is inflated or deflated, that's when we have a problem with the ego. But when the ego is centered, it's actually quite important to have a sense of self because that's what allows you to become centered. It's what allows you to become grounded and be in your body to receive the experience of spirit. The second point of the lower tetrahedron is the mind, which is related to the law of mentalism. And the law of mentalism states that your thoughts become reality and the mind is energy. So you really want to keep this department decluttered and you want to operate from an energetic level that is aligned with your higher self. And the law of mentalism, then, it's linked to the law of attraction and manifestation. So all the laws of our universe are actually interconnected. The next point in the lower tetrahedron is the body. And this is related to the law of action. And this obviously requires you to act, to take action. And action is actually the highest form of prayer. It's about showing up in the highest way from the highest form, from your higher self. So it really is an act of faith. It's putting your thoughts into action and then motion. And the result of that is manifestation. So the formless into matter. And again, it's really about acting from a place of alignment from your higher will, from your higher self. And the more you do this, the more your actions just become a string of actions in flow, like a stream, where you begin to just have so much clarity because there's this lack of resistance from ego, whether it's emotions or just thoughts, they're absent. So it becomes so much easier and effortless to do certain tasks. And better yet, you're able to do them from a state of joy, even if it's the most mundane task that you have to do. So, like I said, it changes the quality of the action. The last point of the lower tetrahedron is the heart. And this is related to the law of vibration, because your physical heart pumps like a drum and it creates rhythm. And that is what creates vibrational frequencies. And your vibrational frequency level is determined by the emotions and feelings that are felt at your heart center. So the higher and more elevated your feelings and emotions are, the higher you will vibrate. And to determine your emotions and feelings, there's actually a map of consciousness that was invented by David Hawkins. And you'll see that the higher the emotions are, the closer it is to unity. In Buddhism, there's something called taking the one seat. And this can be sort of understood as your soul taking its place and sitting in a place of centeredness. And in a way, the Merkaba can also be seen as you taking your one seat. And it's a place where you're truly centered and balanced and stemming from your higher self. That's it for today. I hope that this video was insightful. I hope that it helps you gain some knowledge. And remember that everything that I teach in my videos, they're all just breadcrumbs. They're just a guide, a map for you to take what you need and to leave what doesn't resonate. It would really help me if you could subscribe, like, comment, or share. I am just getting started with my YouTube video and I really want to get going with this. So thank you. I will see you next time. Namaste.